Well, now also staying with the topic of cybersecurity, the US Air Force is planning to introduce new technology to monitor government employees' unauthorized online behavior. Well, let's now cross live to our Washington studio. Dina Godowski has a guest there who's going to explain more about this story for us. Dina.
Hi, Alice. That's right. Barack Obama has been pretty intent on ramping up cybersecurity programs ever since he took office, and now it looks like the Air Force wants to have a stake in it as well. They're reaching out to local businesses to help them develop a technology that would allow them to monitor government employees' online behavior. Then they would decide which internet searches are okay and which are taboo. Now, lawmakers also want a greater stake in this issue. They want intelligence officers to report back to them, and then they want to be able to decide which cybersecurity programs get funded and which ones have to go. But is it really necessary for the United States to spend all this time, energy, and effort on cybersecurity programs? Who are these cyber terrorists, and are they all that dangerous? Well, to help me answer those questions, Jim Harper, Director of Information Policy Studies at the Cato Institute. Hello, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
So you wrote an article entitled Government-Run Cybersecurity? No thanks. Why not?
Well, cybersecurity is hundreds of different problems, and the people in the best position to solve those problems are the people who own the infrastructure, the people who own the technology. So the idea that the government should come in and try to fix this problem it's really impossible. The government can't do it. Now it should secure its own infrastructure.
Who can do it?
Well, the owners of infrastructure, ISPs, software writers, database holders, all these folks have a responsibility to secure what they control, just like we have a responsibility to secure our own houses and our own office buildings. We call in the police, we should call in the government when there's a threat that's nationwide in scope, when there's an international threat, when there has been crime. That's when the government should come in. But for the most part, locking our doors and locking down our computers is our own private responsibility.
Well, many people feel that the nation's networks aren't secure enough. Do you agree with that?
They're probably not secure enough, but we don't want perfect security. That's a network that doesn't work because you can't communicate with it. We need enough security so that we can go forward, and the networks are working pretty well right now. I think it's a serious problem that has to be addressed seriously, but it's not one that the government can walk in and take over and fix for us.
Experts say that people are misinforming the American public about this issue. Do you think that there are people out there, government officials, who are kind of planting seeds of fear?
Oh, I do think so. I think both cyber terrorism and cyber warfare are concepts that are gross exaggerations of what's possible through internet attack. The real problems are those worms, those scripts, the denial of service attacks that people around the world are trying. They're serious and we have to take care of them, but there isn't a strategic advantage to be gained by cyber warfare. There's no such thing as cyber terrorism. If someone were to take down a bank network, that doesn't terrorize. It simply doesn't work. So there isn't a thing such as cyber terrorism. There isn't really a good strategic advantage.
Well, tell that to Barack Obama, right?
Well, he referred to a thing in his speech on cybersecurity recently called weapons of mass disruption. That's sort of a half measure. It's trying to riff on weapons of mass destruction. We obviously want to fear weapons of mass destruction because they truly destroy. But taking down a computer network, taking down data, if it's backed up properly, you can bring it back up within a few days. Now, we can be inconvenienced, it can be costly, so we do have to secure ourselves. But we're not going to be at cyber war, and we're not going to suffer cyber terrorism.
Now, Barack Obama even wants to go as far as to appoint a cyber czar. Who is this person going to be? How much power is he or she going to have?
Well, the administration has been looking around now for a while to find someone, and apparently people have declined the offer of the job because it's such a complex area, and there's not that much advantage to being the U.S. government cyber czar. The real quality work is being done in the private sector, and I think people are wanting to work on those problems there. A cyber czar is a White House position and supposedly would have access to the president, but a lot of people have access to the president. So I think people looking at this job realize that it's a very hard job, a thankless job, and they won't actually be able to get that much done. So it's fine to do, but I don't think the government is where it's at in terms of cybersecurity. Do
you think that clamping down on the internet is a way for the government to have more control over its people than all about internet security?
Well, it's definitely a concern. I don't think anybody in the government wants to do cybersecurity in order to undermine privacy and civil liberties.
But it might be a side effect?
If they do it, there's a good likelihood they would have access to networks, they would have access to data, and over time they would make inroads into personal and private communications, financial transactions of all Americans and many people throughout the world. So another reason not to do this, in addition to lack of expertise, is that putting government agencies on the hubs of the internet as security officials, gives them all kinds of access to private information. We don't want them there.
And then there's all these questions about bureaucracy as well, which come up also.
That's right. The incentive structure in the private sector is very strong. If your network fails, you lose money starting right then. If government fails to secure us somehow or other, they're still getting paid. They're still collecting tax dollars, I suppose, unless they take down the IRS.
Well, we'll see if that happens. We'll have you back then to talk about taking down the IRS. Thank you so much for being here. Well, cybersecurity, interesting topic to talk about, really something that affects everyone across the world. Alice?
Indeed. Dina, thank you to you and your guest for that. We're coming back to you again for another lively debate.